In a very quickly changing world of today, there are many questions about the future of martial arts, especially of traditional martial arts. And to those questions, many people try to answer. Sometimes those answers are based on fake assumptions and inaccurate sources. Today we have with us a really valuable source of information about the traditional martial arts. In fact, this man is a part of the traditional martial arts legacy. Master Maye, the son of the hero of the Chinese Wushu, Ma Xianda. The figure of Ma Xianda is well known not only in China but throughout the world because he was one of the most famous exponents of this ancient Chinese art. And today his son, Ma Yu, perpetrate and continue the tradition of this really interesting style of Chinese Wushu. He has accepted to give some answers to the many common questions we are asking today to ourselves. It's up to you to make your final decision about what the traditional Wushu really is. But I guess that this interview shall be most useful for those who are really interested in discovering the truth. So, Brother Ma, we are living in a very fast-changing world today.
Yes.
You know, the history is before our very eyes, and we can see many things that changing over the time so quickly.
Yes.
That sometimes you are asking yourself whether it's a dream or it's already come true. The same story with the martial arts of today. Some 20, maybe 25 years ago, Chinese Wushu was quite a hidden story. No one could really guess what was the background of the Chinese martial arts because it was hidden behind the bamboo curtain. Not so many people were able to go to China and to see themselves. Now the situation has changed a lot because everybody now is going to China and going to Shaolin Temple, go to Wudan Mountains to see how the Chinese Kung Fu is. But unfortunately, many things that they see now, it's like Disneyland. It's not true. It's just the image that people wants to create of Chinese Wushu. And the real face, the real Chinese Wushu is still hidden under this bamboo curtain. And the more we are actually looking at the picture, the actual picture, the more that we discover this kind of controversy of Wushu. Because nowadays people say, look, Wushu has no martial use. It's just something like a dance, like you know, funny gymnastics with jumps, with turns, but you cannot use it in the actual fight. That's why this interview. This is a follow-up of our president meeting in Tbilisi, in the capital of Georgia, where you were invited as a guest of honor for the traditional Wushu championships. Yes. What the International Federation is trying now is to bring back the traditional Wushu by introducing the format of the Kung Fu championships, and we are closely working on this. I would like to ask you some questions about your family, because the Ma style Wushu is a particular one. It's a really well-known branch, and still it's quite unknown because no one knows what is this. Your father was a real hero of the Chinese Wushu history. It was one of the persons who really kept this martial spirit. And please tell me, where did this style, this Mashi Tongbei Wuyi, originated from?
Mashi Tongbei Wuyi originated from Changzhou, Hebei province, and really from Pan Wenxue, then Li Yunbiao, from Li Yunbiao to Huang Linbiao. Huang Linbiao is the sifu of my grandfather, Ma Fengtu, and he told my grandfather Pi Gua, which is also linked with the Tongbei and this Bei at the, I would say, like 1920s.
This man, he was a Han, a Chinese, or it was Huizu?
It's a Hui.
Also Hui?
Yeah, from Changzhou. Yeah. Also, Changzhou is a lot population are Hui, Huizu. So my grandfather learned Pi Gua, which is Tongbei, from Huang Linbiao sifu. Then And because my grandfather went to two, we call the Xue Tang. It's like a university today. So he went to two university for the degree. One is for the social relation, and another one for economy. So, and when he was study, after he graduated from a university, then he got a job at the Mingguo government. So he went to Tongbei. So when he was working in Tongbei, he met the biggest master in Tongbei. We call the Fengxian San Lao. One Fengxian San Lao. One is a Fanzi master. Another one is a Cuojiao master, and also the Baji master. So they become a good brother, because at the Ming dynasty, meantime, Yiwu Huiyu is very popular. Yeah, if you are good martial arts, I'm good martial arts, we meet. You can come to my home, or I go to your home. I learn something from you, you learn something from me. Then we become a brother.
That it was called Jianghu Wulin.
Yeah, Jianghu Wulin, Yiwu Huiyu. So my grandfather meet these three masters. They become very good brothers. So they exchanged, for what I heard, they exchanged skill and style. So my grandfather told them Pigua. They told my grandfather Fanzi and Cuojiao and Baji. So then, after 8 or 9 years working in Tongbei, my grandfather will move to Xibei, which is Xi'an, Qinghai, Ningxia, Lanzhou. So that's where my grandfather spent most of his life, in Lanzhou. So when I become, I would say, 5 or 6 years old, my father sent me back with my grandfather in Lanzhou from Xi'an. At the time, my father worked in Xi'an, my mother. So almost twice, 3 times a year, my father will guarantee, make sure I'm with my grandfather, because I'm the #1 grandchildren for my grandfather, which is in the traditional way, very important.
How old you were when you
I was
went to
about
meet
5 or 6 years old.
6 years old
Yeah,
only?
yeah.
Oh.
So, because from what I see, back to the history, my father training me very hard. He put a lot wish on me in my family style for my grandfather. Because my grandfather wanted the #1 grandson,
Yeah.
to continue.
The most precious.
Yeah, the most precious. So my father training me and very hard, because I remember there is a letter my father wrote to my grandfather. At the time, they used to write a letter between my grandfather and my father, because my father in Xi'an, my grandfather in Lanzhou. I remember there's one letter my father says, my father called my grandfather and said, "Father, you don't need to worry about Tongbei future. We have a future now," which means Mayu, my son. Because the time I was training very hard. Because when I was 5, I remember 6 years old, I was training with my grandfather. It's not that hard. Because my grandfather in China, we're like, if we say Gleb, is the generation in between, because my father in between my grandfather and me. So he would, my grandfather he just cannot be hard with his grandson. So I remember he told me we call the 12 大趟子, which is very important in Pigua Tongbei foundation. 12大趟子 is 12 different technique. It's mainly for the Pi and the Gua for the Bei and this Bei and the base power, and also the technique is very effective in the real fighting situation, because we call it, as you know, it's a 招法. It's no Wushu movement. Yeah. So I remember the very first thing my grandfather told me is the 12 datangs, 12 technique. Yeah, because I was young, I like to play. You know, I remember once my grandfather standing on the second floor of my grandfather's house. He got second floor, and look over. I was next door to play with other children. So I can remember as yesterday, and he was with his walking stick, which is a knife. He was in the military. Feng Yuxiang, Mr. Feng Yuxiang gave him as a gift. It's a knife, but from outside it's a walking stick, but there's a button.
Inside
if
a knife.
You press the button, the cover will shoot out.
Sounds like a hidden weapon.
Hidden weapon.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember he was banging the walking stick on the floor, said, "Come over, training, no play." I can ever forget that. That's the most I cannot forget the very my grandfather's face, the way he angry. Then because he's angry, he called me over and he showed me. I remember we call the 猛虎硬爬山, which is a very good technique. He said, "Grandson, punch me." So I was coming back. I said, "Well, how can I punch my grandfather?" But I was young. I didn't think. I just punched him. The next thing I know, his finger is in my eye, but he stopped. You know, 猛虎硬爬山, like that. I was shocked. This is the most clear thing I can remember with my grandfather.
It would be really interesting for people to know, how was it training the old way? Because you began your training in a really traditional way. It was not the modern days. It was really, you know, your grandfather was a really traditional man, the old-fashioned man.
That's right.
So how was the training? How did you begin to train every single day? He was calling you and saying, "What? Let's begin to study what?" How was it?
Yeah, he's calling me. He says, "No play. You need to train Tongbei. This is a family legacy." And I was young. Every
small kid like
this,
6
every
years
children
old.
want to play, and especially the friends calling you from another door.
So you didn't want to learn.
Yeah. You just want to play. So a lot of people, I think they don't understand. Born in a well-known martial arts family, how pressure I was under. You know, I was in some way. Yeah, I just feel it's too much pressure. You know, my grandfather is a great man, and my second grandfather, Ma Yingtu, is a great man, and my father and my 3 uncles, they're all great masters. And I was a kid. I feel it's too much pressure for me, under pressure all the time. So you have to training hard. You got to give not 100%. You got to give 200%, maybe even 300%. And my grandfather or my father still not pleased. They still feel it's not good. I remember, we go back, the training I remember now, trace back, is pure, we call the 招法 technique, 单皮手 like. In Tongbei, just the 单皮手, there is more than 10 different ways of practicing. Moving 单皮手, we call the 大胯步, or we call the 单皮手腰步. 腰步, there's 2 different 腰步. One is 顺步腰步, and one is opposite 腰步 with 单皮手. With 单皮手. And also you have used 单皮手, we call the 刀法无类. And turn around the P. All different angle, different and used with punch back at the old time in the 60s. 60s we haven't got the proper punch back like today. What we had is we call the ma dai. Ma dai is the bag we use for rice. To rice, ma dai. It's then we take the rice out, the empty ma dai. What we do is we put the small stone all inside, make sure they all piled up, yeah, tight, and that's the punch bag where
With no gloves.
no gloves. Because in China, after 49 liberated, they never really, how to say, after, I would say, beginning of 60s, the government, how to say, because there's few tournament, people injured badly or dead, killed. So the government says, no, we have to stop. I remember from what...
You mean during this late Thai side?
Late Thai side. Like my father won the Sanshou tournament in Tianjin. That's 1953. Come to 1964, in this period of time, a lot of tournament people die. In late Thai, we call it late Thai. Yes.
So it was without any protective
gear?
No,
no protection, nothing. Yeah. So in the tournament, people die. The government said, no, hang on, we have to stop this sports.
So being 6 years old, you began to strike those heavy bags with small stones and with sand and with rice?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how we do. And also, I remember the movement training is different too, very, very different as today. We call it Wulong Panda. In Changquan, there is also Wulong Panda. Yeah, Chaquan also have Wulong Panda. Huaquan have Wulong Panda, but in Tongbei Wulong Panda, I tried when I was in the training, but I can't reach the level of my grandfather generation. I remember what they said. My second grandfather Ma Yingtu, his Wulong Panda with the shoulder, he's going down with the shoulder. He can dig a hole.
This is similar to today's Chanxuan Lunbei.
Sure, Wulong Panda. 但是通背的乌龙潘达，它是they build the power and in the strike situation, strike with this to block whole your body, your opponent. So they are training very hard. They hit it on the floor for real.
It was painful for you. So 6 years old.
Yes.
To strike, doing this.
I know.
Is there any? There were some conditioning exercise to prepare your hand for striking such hard bags, or no?
No.
Some medicine to be applied.
No.
No.
No. No.
Okay.
But it's how to say from and like Danpi Show at the time, Danpi Show we call the left and right Danpi Show. Now these days, some people doing 20 of them, you know, left, right, 1, left, right, 2, 20 of them, they'll have no power, no energy left. But I remember when I was young, I did 200 in one go. I was 7 or 8 years old with my father in Xi'an. Yeah. And Zhang Chunyan from Tianjin. Zhang Chunyan, he's my father's generation. He's very good in Tongbei. He was training with my grandfather. He saw, my father asked me to show him. Said, Maye, show your uncle, Danpi Show. So from his eye, I know I have to give everything I have. So normally if I do 150, that's not good enough. So I did 200.
For how long did you train every day under your grandfather?
No, my grandfather, not very long. I would say 1 or 2 years, on and off, not all the time.
And every time, 2 hours, 1 hour?
Around 2 hours.
2 hours?
Yeah, inside the 2 hours. Compared with my grandfather, it's much lighter than I was training with my father. With my father, it's hard. Because the Cultural Revolution start. So all the teacher in the university school, they got no work, all stay at home. So my father got all the time, all day. So yeah, you can say I'm lucky. Or at the time when you're childhood, you think you're not lucky. He training me like 8 hours a day.
During the times of the Cultural Revolution, did the training stop in China, or it was continuing in hidden places?
In a hidden place, there is.
Inside your family, it was secret. because it
Yes,
was not allowed.
secret, that's right.
To do Wushu,
Yeah.
or only Sanda.
Only Tongbei training, which is Sanda. But that kind of Sanda is no, we're thinking of the Sanda today.
Yeah. But it was forbidden. This
It's
Wushu
forbidden.
training was
It's
forbidden.
forbidden. Have to hiding. Government not allowed. Yeah. So we have to train it secretly. No bother. No affect anybody else.
So you didn't train in the garden. You kept in home inside the
Yes.
house.
Keep it in the house. Yeah. And there's some other people. My father's a student. You know, they come home quietly and train with me.
There were no
under my
traitors. No one sold your father out. To the
Well,
authorities.
this is another subject we have to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So during the Cultural Revolution, you kept training every day.
Yes,
Wow.
every day. I used to want to run. I want to run from home because I can't take it. Seriously, I know it's a lot of people thinking maybe it's funny because I want people understand me. Grew up in a well-known martial arts family. I didn't choose martial arts.
Yes.
My father chose it for me.
Yes.
My father chose it
It
for
was
me.
not your choice.
Yeah, so I through many different levels of thinking martial arts. Most of my childhood, I think I did martial arts for my father, mainly, or for my grandfather.
Tell me one thing. It's funny. You were young. You wanted to play. You didn't want to learn so much of martial arts. When did you begin to love martial arts and to understand that actually you like it?
I really started like martial arts. There's few period of time. Very first period of time is I won the first traditional gold medal from 1979. In the traditional
How old were you at this time?
1979, I was in the university my second year. Probably 18, 17, between 17 and 18.
So between 17 and 18, after let's say 11 years of training, hard,
Yeah.
you told to yourself, okay, possibly it's not such a bad thing.
Yeah. It's because when from young, I was in a very mixed situation because government promoting modern Wushu, Changquan we call it. And I come from a traditional Tongbei family. So I have to adapt. Because everybody in Wushu, if you want to achieve something at the time, you have to do modern Wushu. Otherwise, you'll be out. Because government promote modern Wushu. So we have to fit in all different tradition, style.
How did you do?
And well, I was lucky because my father, Ma Xianda, he was involved from I can remember it's 1972, the very first China National Wushu Championships. The very first one I remember is in Shandong, Jinan. I was living with my father in Xi'an Sports University, and we have a very small apartment. It's my father's university gift to my father. We was living together. So I remember my father pack his things in the bag and take the bag, just gone. I was young. I think I was 1972. I was 11 or 12 years old. I said, what is? So I haven't seen my father for over a week. Then suddenly he coming back. Yeah, and he told my mother all about this tournament. This Wushu, the very first Wushu tournament in Jinan, Shandong. They gave him the top judge of all the tournament and how he did. He talked to my mother, and also because he respect Mr. Zhang Wenguang. Zhang Wenguang used to be very, very strange situation. Zhang Wenguang is my second grandfather Ma Yingtu's student. But when my father was in the university in Tianjin, he was the teacher there. Zhang Wenguang was the teacher there. So my father is a student. So from university, they are teaching student relation. But from outside, in real life, they are brother situation.
Yeah.
Because he's my grandfather's student. With my father, they are brother.
How did your father manage to keep the tradition facing those big changes and this transformation of Wushu into a sport from a martial art? How did he do?
Yeah, I think the reason he kept that, he had a strong family background training with my grandfather, very strong. So when he grew up after 18, I had the same influence from my father. That's how I understand my father. After 18, you never forget when you are 5 or 6 or 7 what you've been trained, because that's the important period of time for everybody's life.
It's for the whole life.
Yeah, you will never forget. And that's the reason my father had that advantage of all his generation, because he's very strong, solid foundation with my grandfather. Then he went to university and finished university. He will become a teacher of Wushu. Then he involved with modern Wushu, not just say he practiced Wushu or modern Wushu. He's the one of the few people who are decided the rules of modern Wushu and decided the modern Sanda. Yeah, he's the one of them. You know, so from what we talking about, I listen to him all the time, so I understand him. He always want Wushu become like we've been agreed. You need to have a 3 skill to be recognized as a Wushu, good athletic or professional. I think you need a tradition background, you need a sports background, and you need both Taolu and fighting.
So he did not deny sport Wushu. He said that it was also a side of Wushu training.
Because he have no choice. Because he working for the government promoting modern Wushu. Yeah. He have to do his job. He have to do his job. But on the other side of his job, he has his own opinion, his own understand. But this not being accepted by the Wushu Federation, or if they accept his idea, now today's Wushu would be different.
Tell me one thing. Both you and your father, you took lessons. You studied Western boxing and wrestling.
Yeah.
How did it affect your attitude towards traditional Chinese Wushu? Because it's quite different. The approach is quite different.
Yeah, but I think it's very, very. I think different. I think it's because I follow my father's step. He went to boxing, so he wanted me to go into boxing when I come to a certain age. I find it very easy. If you have that strong background in traditional martial arts, boxing, Sanda, Duanbing, Changbing, real fighting, it's not a problem. Only way of training are different.
So you don't think boxing is superior to Wushu, for example, punching?
If you understand the game of boxing, then you accept. You would, because it's just the way of training different. Anything else is not different, because Wushu have my opinion, maybe I'm not wrong, I'm not right, but my opinion, Wushu has the best coordination, best flexibility, and the power mixture in any martial art style. Wushu has the best. Even modern Wushu athlete, they have the best jumping power, control power, body control, stamina, stand, flexibility, coordination. And if we use that in the right traditional way, that's what I mean.
And there is a force application, Fadzin.
Yeah.
Fadzin is something that boxing doesn't have.
Yeah, that's what we see. All those we call the Jianghu Dashi. They are very good in their style, but what they miss out is the good high level stamina. high level of flexibility coordination of use your body in Wushu way. That's why all the Wushu player, yeah, like the top of my generation, Zhao Changjun, Li Lianjie, or Li Zhizhou, Wang Jianjun, yeah, including myself, we have a solid foundation. Anything we go in, we find easy.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. You know, I spent 10 years in Tongbei. I only spent 1 year in boxing. I can be a good boxer.
Oh.
And that's the difference, 10 and 1.
So with the basics of Wushu, it's quite easy to learn. You mean the
yes,
modern
because
arts.
we use our body in the same way. But the Wushu has the longest history of training your body in martial arts way. The martial arts way is one. In my opinion, the performing is not easy, because performing is like a life. You are fighting against yourself.
Yeah.
You don't know how good you are until you training for so many years. Then you have the picture in your mind of your own movement, of your own power, of your own 精力. But in fighting, you don't have to be like that. In fighting 2 years, if my opponent KO'd by me, I know my power is right. I don't have to training internally to find out about myself. But performing is different. Performing, you are totally on your own. You don't have an opponent.